This podcast is not intended to provide any investment advice. The opinions expressed here by either the hosts or guests do not necessarily reflect the views of PSA, Collectors Holdings, or any of their affiliates. Any discussion of collectible values in the past or present is not a guarantee of future performance. Hello and welcome back. Another week of the PSA pod. 3 weeks running now, fellas, talking football because we cannot wait for it to be here. Now, 2 weeks ago, we broke down the AFC from a hobby perspective, made some bold predictions, all that fun stuff. The AFC was so loaded with topics to choose from. Prepping for the NFC this week.
It was a deep dive.
It was a little more challenging.
You had to go deep. And I saw how you intentionally pushed this episode out a week by bringing Coleman in last week, just so you could avoid having to talk about the NFC just one more week.
And my favorite team is in the NFC, and I'm just like trying to find bright spots in the NFC. But that's what's going to make this a fun challenge.
Oh, there's plenty. I'm just playing. Yeah. Like, NFC is a lot of fun. There's a ton of great players, cards, everything that we're going to get into today.
Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. When I think of the NFC, I think collecting. And those guys
Sam
obviously
Darnold.
represent
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Do not besmirch the class of 2015, Jack. One of the greatest of all time.
Oh, we got the class of 2015 is kind of entering last chance U in the NFC. We've got the first two quarterbacks taken in the 2018 draft on the same team. There's all kinds of like daytime soap type of things to get into here with the NFC. So let's just go for it. And we're going to start with, I think, what is probably the best division top to bottom in the NFC. We may as well start with the best, and that's the NFC West. So when we talked AFC, we went into this saying, who are we really looking for from a hobby perspective, from a collector's perspective? Who's standing out to you? What are you really watching going into this year? So NFC West, what are we looking for as a collector?
You guys really want to start with me on this one?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to start with a fun fact just to set it up a little bit. Jack's going to come over the top on me at some point here, but there were more Trey Lance, Donruss, and Panini cards, respectively, submitted to PSA in July than both Joe Montana and Jerry Rice rookie cards. Trey Lance is the face of the 49ers at this point. He is the face of the 49ers hobby. All that said, I'm totally taking a different approach here, and you guys are going to yell at me for being the old guy here. But I'm not taking Trey Lance. I'm not taking anyone from any of the other three teams either. I'm taking Joe Montana. Is that allowed? Can we check the bylaws? Can I take Joe Montana? I'm taking 1981 Topps, number 216 rookie card. In a PSA 10, card ladder has a value of $69,000. The pop on Montana's most iconic rookie card is just 108. And when I say most iconic, it's because it's his only rookie card. See what I did there? Whereas with our friends like Trey Lance and others, there's just literally tens of thousands of different choices that just make my head explode, and I just don't get it, frankly, to a certain extent. So I like the simplicity. I like the retreat of nostalgia. I kind of like 4 Super Bowl championships and 3 Super Bowl MVPs as well. So for me, I'm not going to try to figure out who the best quarterback is out of the class, all that. I'm retreating to the safe haven of vintage. And I think, if you're a collector, it's a safe, reliable way to go. And listen, I'm not a card cop. You can collect whatever you want. But what I'm saying is, if I had to choose between Trey Lance and Joe Montana, I'm taking Joe Montana every day.
I love that choice, Steve. I love that choice. If you're a rainmaker, a business tycoon with unlimited money, and you can own the PSA 10 Joe Montana rookie card, pop 108, you get $69,000 to spend, like no big deal. I love that choice. I don't love the idea of owning a PSA 8 pop 8,000 Joe Montana rookie card, a card that 8,000 other people have. And the same reason I don't want a Zion Prism rookie card, personally, how I am as a collector, but just the idea of there being so many cards in a certain condition out there And the PSA 10 is beautiful. I love that. But the really high pop stuff, I mean, the pricing goes down so dramatically. A PSA 8, $358. A PSA 9 last sold according to Card Letter for $2,300. And the PSA 10, as we mentioned, $69,000. I would, if you're speaking,
I'm going to convince you to meet me in the middle at that 9, around $2,300. Like Trey Lance, Black Pandora to 25s are selling for about that price. If you tell me I could have a Montana 9 for 2,300 ish, and I'm gonna sleep very well. Whereas if I have that Trey Lance, it's a beautiful card. God, I love the look of that card. It just pops. But I'm not sleeping very well over the course of the next 17 weeks.
Yeah. You know what it could be in about 2 years, but
and
you also know what it could be.
That's
in
definitely
2 years.
like the counter argument is like, well, just look at Patrick Mahomes. Look what happened to his stuff. And there's a definite ceiling on Montana's PSA 9 where there just isn't today on Trey Lance cards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not personally this giant Trey Lance believer, but I think if you're a 49ers fan and you like owning those crazy rare cards, for a lot of people, the only way to own those crazy rare cards is to get in early. And there's also this satisfaction of being someone like, yeah, I was buying Trey Lance cards between his first and second season. I've had this card for 20 years and 3 Super Bowls, and like it means everything to me. There's only 20 of them in the world. And unless, you're just completely made of money, it's hard to own those type of cards later on in life. So I completely understand why people want to go the other route. Like I said, if I had $70K to spend, I'm taking the Joe Montana all day, every day. But the PSA 9, it's the pop is just under 2,000. I would much rather have. You can get a lot of quality cardboard for 2,300.
Yeah.
I'm looking at like prism numbered color. I'm looking at on card autographs, and I'm grabbing those. If I'm a Niners fan, like that's what I'm looking at, and the upside and the thrill of watching your team's quarterback go above and beyond in the season, potentially, there's an entertainment factor that needs to be factored in here as well. And I get it completely. Watching the value rise while it's in your hand. It's just fun. Yeah. It's just really fun. Sports gambling is a thing, FanDuel is a thing. DraftKings is a thing. This is the same thing, but it's not zero sum. Mm-hmm. If you pick the 49ers to win week 1 and they lose, you have $0. If you buy a Trey Lance card and he's just kind of okay on week 1, you still own that Trey Lance card. And to me, that there's something satisfying about that. It puts me at ease in a way that, loading up your FanDuel, your DraftKings daily fantasy for that Sunday, like just doesn't.
I would say buy both, because at the end of the day, even if you need to, join the masses of the 8,090 people that maybe have a PSA 8, be one of those people. It's okay. You can get a nicely centered Montana rookie in an 8. And if you're a Niner fan, that's got to go right alongside your Trey Lance card, given the price. $350 for that PSA 8 Montana.
So is there also a little bit of, and tell me what you guys think or if I'm way off base on this, but I remember when the Niners got really good again about a decade ago, like that massive fan base was awakened again, right? And all of a sudden there's Niner fans everywhere, right? Is there a little bit of the rising tide lifts all ships here, where if Trey Lance is really the truth and, the Niner fan base is awakened again, does Joe Montana's market see a little bit of, carryover from that excitement and that, and all of that?
It could use it, because like a lot of cards since 2021, Montana rookies are down.
Yeah.
We mentioned that $69,000 price, but I mean, the range since early 21 has gone from somewhere in the 50s all the way up to the $100,000 mark. Mm-hmm. So, depending on where you get in, 69 might either look like a great steal, or you could be down from a high point. But it does. I mean, I remember back, I grew up in the Bay Area. My whole family was Niner fans. I was a Black Sheep Raider fan, but you had to respect Montana. Every time the Niners do something with Kaepernick as an example recently, like the Bay Area was just taken over by Kaepernick fever. Everywhere you went, it was all about Cap. And as a result, his cards did great things at that point. But I think you do see it with Montana too. It's just it's a throwback to the legacy of the 49ers and their great franchise.
So what else in this division stands out? Because it's funny because competitively it's a pretty good division, but hobby wise, we saw what happened with Stafford last year. I don't know how much higher that buzz could go, even if he has a repeat performance of it. The Seahawks are that's a hobby wasteland kind of this year, unless you're really a Drew Lock believer.
No, move on. The only hobby storyline for me in the NFC West is Kyler.
Yeah.
I mean, he has so much on the line. He's got the new contract, but given what happened in the playoffs last year, I think there are a lot of questions around his cards in terms of where they're going to be going based on his performance.
Yeah, we have Reddit reports that line up his Call of Duty promotional XP weekends and his performance. And
amazing.
Let's just say the numbers don't bode well for Kyler Murray.
It's wild looking up and down the card ladder values of the PSA 10s of his flagship stuff. I know 2019 for football was not the best year of product. But man, the values right now on some of these cards, compared to what we were seeing, even just a year ago, coming off of a really promising second season, it's a little bit of an early juncture in his career to be saying this, but in the hobby, could he be in kind of that last chance territory unless he, will the hobby believe in him again if he has an average year?
If he has an average year, I can see him on a different team in 2023, and then potentially a new fan base and some new hype and coaches saying all the right things could rejuvenate it quite a bit. I do want to note with the NFC West, though, if Stafford runs it back, going through the NFC West compared to the AFC, it's going to be a lot easier for the Rams to make the Super Bowl again than it is Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And if Stafford runs it back, he gets 2 Super Bowls under his belt. His cards are definitely going to make a pretty big comeback. And as someone who once owned quite a few Matt Stafford cards, I will be very happy still for him and happy for the people I traded with, because I've always loved Matt Stafford. I think he's a hell of a quarterback.
That's a great call, because there's a difference between a one-time quarterback, Super Bowl champion quarterback, and a 2-time Super Bowl champion quarterback, and especially the way he would have done it in back-to-back years with a massive franchise in LA. That could bode well. So I think if anyone who bought in on Stafford prior to last year, I'd hope they would have held and are continuing to collect him into this year. Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, those guys all bode well to Jack's point. I mean, NFC is pretty much pretty wide open in terms of how much how little distance there will be to getting to the Super Bowl based on the talent elsewhere.
The population on Stafford stuff is very low too.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're looking for a Stafford card, his Topps paper, there's a variation. There might be 2 variations actually, and they fly really under the radar. So just something to dig into if you're a Rams fan, Stafford believer, all that stuff.
Well, speaking of up in the air, I think the NFC East is just as up in the air as the NFC as a whole. When we look at things, and obviously we see what Philadelphia did in the offseason to further support Jalen Hurts. We bring up that last chance theme. You've got quarterbacks like Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones in the mix there. You've got the Cowboys, who were a really good team last year and had a really good season
until they weren't in
the playoffs, and then they're completely written off again. What's standing out here?
Well, I like to remind people that the Eagles were a playoff team last year. It's something I think a lot of collectors forget or overlook. The team started 2-5, and Jalen Hurts brought them back to a respectable 9-8. Of course, before being outclassed by Brady and the Bucs in the wild card game. But I think the issue with Jalen is he's just one of those players who he makes a great play, and you say, "Wow, I cannot believe he did that." And of course, Jalen is also that same player where he makes a boneheaded interception, and you're just like, wow, I cannot believe he did that. It's just the way that the Jalen Hurts experience goes in terms of the ups and downs. And, I'd say if you're unfamiliar with Jalen Hurts, go to YouTube and create 2 search queries. The first one is Jalen Hurts highlights, and the second one in a separate tab is Jalen Hurts lowlights, and then watch them back to back and try to figure out if you're watching the same quarterback, because it's really polarizing in terms of how high he can be and also how low. Now, I think in terms of speaking how low, his cards right now are at a point where they're kind of bottoming out. I think people are excited about the year, but his 2020 Prism PSA 10 is way down from early 2021. Today it has a card ladder value of around $100. Its pop is about $1,500. But in early 2000, mid 2000, that was about a $500 card.
Mm-hmm.
So it's way down based on some of its macro stuff with the market, but a lot of it was just that up and down season that he had, and a lot of Eagle fans, frankly, being out on him. But to your point about what happened, they brought in AJ Brown. They've got solid talent around him elsewhere with Smith and Goddard. I think there's upside. So if you're looking to get into Jalen a little bit, now might be a good time. I mean, his silver Prism PSA 10 has a pop of only 159 and a card ladder value of $760. So affordable for a low pop card. And again, that's down big time from early 2021 when it was close to a $1,300 card. But it is, something that you might look at as an option to get in on Hurts if you believe in him, because this is kind of a prove it year. He's super young too, by the way. He's younger than Mac Jones. He's younger than Davis Mills. Like, this guy has some potential that just we're waiting to see if it comes to fruition.
So Ryan was preparing this podcast and he sent this list over, and I had a really hard time in the NFC East. I'm not a huge Jalen Hurts guy. I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. I'm not a Dak guy. I do like AJ Brown. I do like CD and some of the wide receivers, but the player that I kept on coming back to was Micah Parsons. And I think it's because we just published an article in PSA Magazine called Legion of Bang. NFL defenders can pack a hobby punch. And I was looking at like JJ Watt cards and Myles Garrett cards and Ray Lewis cards and Lawrence Taylor cards. And like, there was some pretty big prices and a lot of collecting interest that's kind of flying under the radar with some of these defensive players. And everyone's saying like, hey, running backs, like, they might take a step forward in the hobby. Wide receivers might get even bigger. There's interest simmering for tight ends. But I think like the really, really elite defensive players, the Aaron Donalds of the game, I think there's a lot of room to grow and a lot of really cool cards that you can get for not a lot of money. I was looking at the Micah Parsons Blue Ice Prism card that recently came out, and that card is awesome, like just awesome. Joey Bosa cards. There's just like a lot
Aaron
of like
Donald,
there's a lot of interesting room to move.
Max Crosby.
Can I
get a one up on that? Yeah.
A lot of interesting move to get into this like defensive player, and you can get these cards that you just drool over, you covet, of the Justin Herberts and the Joe Burrows and the Jalen Hurts of the world, but at a much lower price point for players that are in a lot of cases much better. So just something to consider. I've been eyeing all these Micah Parsons cards, and I might have to jump in. So
I'm going to stick with America's team because you mentioned him. CeeDee Lamb, I love looking for, and Jack, this is kind of a nod to another piece in this month's PSA magazine talking about, essentially tandems in the hobby, right? We could talk quarterbacks here for every team in this league. Dak Prescott has a very interesting market in the hobby. Like you said, you're not really a big believer. A lot of people are. When he plays well, he kind of has that Cowboys premium attached to his name and his prices. I see incredible opportunity for CeeDee Lamb this year. I think, he's shown so much in the first 2 years living up to that first round billing, but you just look at the equity of touches that now just goes up even more. Amari Cooper's gone. Michael Gallup is not back from injury yet. It's an offense that is incredibly pass happy and very prolific, has a really good run game, offensive line, all of it. The table is set for CeeDee Lamb to have the year 3 breakout. And, you look at his cards were easy to forget because he's in this loaded 2020 hobby class with guys like Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, whether, even though he hasn't really performed up to snuff, Tua cards were submitted to PSA en masse in 2021. So there's a lot of.
I was going to ask you if you're going to throw Tua in there.
No, I was just going to say he gets kind of lost in that mix, but then you look at the numbers and it backs it up. The Panini Prism Silver Prism rookie card, right, where you have 800-900 copies graded of both Burrow and Herbert. Only 200 206 to be exact, CeeDee Lambs have come through our doors. So, obviously wide receivers are not as popular in the hobby, but it's kind of the number two, a little bit of a distant number two to the quarterbacks
for the Cowboys.
Yeah, exactly. So
in the history there,
mm-hmm.
Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, T.O. I mean, there's some great names.
Exactly. And again, if he performs really well, that Cowboy premium is kind of built in there. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with his cards if both he and the team can perform. We all know they can perform in the regular season. I'd be really interested to see what happens in the current climate of the hobby and the current space where the hobby is if the Cowboys make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, let's talk to Mike McCarthy about that. There's only one thing standing in the Cowboys' way.
I put the word "if" in there quite a bit, so I want to qualify that.
And it's not Jalen Hurts.
I feel like we all saw what was going to happen with them against the Niners last year in the playoffs. So, again, big ifs, but
I mean, it's America's team. There's a huge fan base.
I hate calling them America's team, but they are.
But it is. But
yeah.
So somebody's got to come out of there. I don't know. I think the Cowboys take a step back this year, but from a collecting standpoint, number one wide receiver in Dallas that's pretty good.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
There's nowhere else, if you're a number one wide receiver in the hobby, you would want to be other than Dallas.
He's really marketable too. He's very likable, very fun. He's got a great name, CeeDee Lamb.
Mm-hmm.
Just fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think if there's any wide receiver outside of Jamar Chase who I think can really make the jump into being like a pop culture figure outside of just like hardcore football fans, it's CeeDee Lamb. So I like that pick quite a bit.
Well, now it's going to get a little bit tougher to make a pick because we're going to the NFC South. That exhale said it all.
Hey, you got Tom Brady.
Who wants this? Yeah, we do. But that's such an obvious choice, right?
I had to pick him.
Go with it.
But Jack, you have a really unique angle with this too.
I tried. I was in my head. I was workshopping Marcus Mariota takes and
just couldn't get there.
Baker Mayfield. I've always had a soft spot for Baker Mayfield. CMC, he's got to be healthy one of these years. Maybe this is the year. But I just kept coming back to Tom Brady, to TB12. But I want to specifically talk about his non-rookie cards. Because he's the greatest ever, his rookie cards in terms of price are astronomical in most cases. And the ones that are even like semi-affordable are ones where he's wearing like his college uniform or has like sweatpants on and they're just not as aesthetically pleasing as like his Bowman Chromes, for example. His SP Authentic rookie, which is fantastic. But there's a lot of room in the non-rookie card market with Tom Brady. And we've seen gold refractors for Bowman Chrome and Topps Chrome and Topps Finest go crazy. And we're seeing regular refractors really make a jump too. But I just think there's a lot of sort of like non-shiny cards, early game used stuff.
Yes.
That you can really dig into, and if you're savvy and careful about it, you got the eBay safe searches locked and loaded, you could get some spectacular Brady stuff that's sort of like simmering under the radar right now. And if you're looking at this class and saying like, man, I don't want to buy the next Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold or whoever it might be, maybe look elsewhere and don't feel trapped to only get rookie cards of players, especially when they're at his level.
The early game used stuff from Brady, actually when cards actually featured real game used material, it's really cool. Like, there's a lot of the Breeze Brady winning materials or TD threads from 2002 Fleer Genuine. Yeah, that's a good one.
And well, here's the thing too with Jack, you mentioned the early game use stuff. You kind of use a little bit of your math and your hobby logic in this. Steve, we've talked at long ends about 2002 game use stuff of Brady, right? We don't know for sure, but if they're game used jerseys from 2001, you're talking about having game used jersey pieces from his first Super Bowl season, his first year as a starter. There's like, Jack loves to use this term and it's so right. Like there's a piece of history there. These cards literally feature a piece of history potentially. And I can't second that enough because this was something I kind of got turned on to last year. Some of what can be found out there from like the 2002 to 2004 range of Brady, or 2001 to 2004, is pretty incredible.
Yeah, like what was it, the winning materials from
2002
SPX?
SPX.
Yeah, for gold, limited to 250, $500.
I think it only went for about $360.
Yeah. There you go. I mean,
and there's 2 of them in a PSA 9.
Yeah.
So, there's the nugget I love to throw out there for all the rookie cards that Tom Brady has. He only has base second-year cards in 2 products, because you got to remember, he didn't play as a rookie. Upper Deck Rookie FX in 2001 and Playoff Preferred in 2001, which also has a National Treasures, go figure, parallel. There's a silver out of 400, a gold out of 100. There's like some really fascinating stuff early on of Brady that goes beyond the rookie year.
I've always thought football game used patches should go for a big premium compared to basketball and baseball, because there's so few games compared to the other sports.
Yes.
Nobody ever talks about that, but like my entire collecting journey, I've always been puzzled by that.
All right, we put it off long enough. I guess we have to talk about the rest of the NFC South.
You don't want to talk Brady for another 30 minutes?
I mean, we should, because that's what the hobby cares about. But I will instead transfer over to your theme about Last Chance U. And there are plenty of options within this division, as you have alluded to. 2 2015 draft picks, number 1 overall, Jameis Winston, now with the Saints. Number 2 overall from that year, Marcus Mariota, now with the Falcons. Also 2018's number 3 overall pick, Sam Darnold, also now with Carolina. Lots of choices, right?
Wild.
All guys that were aggressively chased by collectors back in their respective years. And, I'm going to go back to our guy who we all know I'm going to pick here, which is Baker Mayfield. I think he has a legit shot of leading a playoff team at some point in his career, not necessarily this year, because this year is clearly a transitional year for him to get a new contract. But I do think he looks great in Carolina blue. Have you guys seen him? I think he looks way better than...
Just got named the starter.
Everybody looks better outside of Cleveland Brown uniforms, I would say.
That's true.
Very true. So it looks to me, you said that he was just named the starter by Matt Rule, the head coach of the Panthers. And I think what Matt did is he just looked at the card prices for Darnold versus Baker Mayfield to make his decision to name his starter. Because in this case, the wisdom of the hobby would have really helped him with a very clear answer. And that is because the value of Baker Mayfield's cards completely dwarf those of Sam Darnold's. And really, there should be no comparison based on their career records. But let's just look at one of Jack's favorite, very short printed 2018 Silver Prism. Sam Darnold has a card ladder value of, drum roll please, you guys want to guess?
400.
Oh boy.
500.
$65, my guys. $65.
PSA 10, 2018
PSA 10.
Prism Silver.
Yes. Sam Darnold has been completely rejected.
The pop is like
expelled.
pop 30.
I was going to guess around.
Pop
It had to be like between $250, $300, $65.
Pop 48. Nobody likes Sam Darnold anymore. I'm sorry. This is just the reality.
Whew.
Baker Mayfield, on the other hand, only has a pop 13, and that population has been flat since 2021. There's been no new PSA 10s.
Mm-hmm.
The value there is $1,275. So Baker,
that's way higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah. So Baker is legitimately a hobby darling still, even though he's obviously it's a low pop, but people still believe in Baker, and I think that comes with the card prices that you're seeing in that comparison.
I feel like he's liked.
Yeah.
Like Jack talks about, athletes' marketability factoring into card prices. I mean,
he's in that terrible commercial they played over and over.
The progressive commercials, but they're actually...
The Hulu commercials.
Yeah, the Hulu commercial. But when you saw them the first time, they're actually kind of clever, but then they play them so much that you don't want to see them anymore. But yeah, like he has all those things, like he gives really buzzy, viral, post-game comments, the whole thing about I woke up feeling dangerous today. Like he's got that, like it's kind of the stuff that Burrow became really liked for outside of the performance, in the postseason last year. So he's got a little bit of that. He's liked.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I agree. I remember watching Hard Knocks when it was the Browns season.
That's right.
And just like really digging Baker Mayfield, just overall vibe and presence in the locker room and with his teammates. He's had some speed bumps, like a lot of young quarterbacks have, him maybe a little bit more than others. But I do think there is this natural confidence and charisma, which is so important at the quarterback position, and he has that. So we'll see what he does in Carolina.
So here's your shot, Baker. You've got CMC, Christian McCaffrey. You've got Terrence Marshall Jr. You got some other guys that you can make a bit of a
DJ
splash
Moore.
with.
Yeah, you still got DJ Moore. You got pieces.
So, I mean, but again, this is all about setting up for next year, in my opinion. We'll see if he resigns in Carolina. I would think he's going to test the open market, and a quarterback starved team could sign him, and then that's really where the hobby upside is. Like, say he goes to a better market than Carolina, that's really where you're looking to see Baker really rise.
There's an interesting angle there too, because they drafted Matt Corral out of Ole Miss this year in the 3rd round. Who, 3rd round pick, you're thinking there's a chance that this could be the quarterback of the future, and he's already out for the season. Hurt his foot this weekend. Yep. So, who knows what happens with that if Baker really, overperforms this year. You never know.
See, look at you guys are on the Baker train now. You were so you always Brady. Now you're back to Baker. Thank you. I rest my case. Baker Mayfield.
I give him a little bit of like a pass on last year because he was playing so hurt. And I do still remember how good he was the year before. So, I mean,
he went full Andrew Luck and tried to play the whole year, basically injured. So,
yeah. And, not that I'm going to dive too deep into it, but, you mentioned Run CMC. Like, McCaffrey's the guy I'm watching in this division. I think he's been so forgotten about in the hobby, understandably so because of the injuries. But, like, man, when you look at his, like, card ladder prices from last year to now on, I went back and looked at just his Prism rookie from 2017, where once again, the base rookies were silver. That card peaked in a PSA 10 at $374, basically 11 months ago to the day. And it's now just over $100. Like it's crashed so hard, but there's basically half as many of that card graded as there is Patrick Mahomes from the same set. Understandably so. It kind of blows my mind that his card wasn't valued a little higher when it was even, but the fact that it's so low now, I think we all remember how good this guy can be when fully healthy. That's literally what it all comes down to. He'll be good in any offense, but can he stay on the field?
Yeah.
Yeah. CMC is so much fun.
He really is.
When he's healthy, he's a fantasy football darling. I'm excited to watch him play this year. I keep hearing reports that he's like doing like yoga and really focusing on like his flexibility and stuff, which is, not what you really want to hear from like this, a bruising running back. But for him, it feels right. It feels like he can do some damage. The only problem with CMC is that our colleague Chris McGill, co-founder of Card Ladder, owns all the awesome CMC cards, and he's never selling. So like you just can't find anything great for him.
But him and Baker feel like two guys who could potentially really fit well together.
So no love or prospects for Jameis and as a guy in New Orleans, huh?
Man, his stuff is so appetizing though. You're seeing these like national treasure RPAs for, really accessible pricing, and when he's on the field, like he's good. He's really, really good.
His moments.
Steve, let me
He's
challenge.
like a mature Jalen Hurts. Put it that way.
Let me challenge your theory here. He's in a different uniform. Not only that, he's in a different uniform in the same division. Does that make it even worse?
Yeah, it does. I mean, especially his 2015 Silver Prism. It's like super buxed out, meaning like he's in his Bucs uniform. There's a huge Bucs logo right behind him on the infield action. It's just one of those things. If you're a Saints fan, you're like, man,
do I really want to look at this?
Elsewhere?
Yeah.
But I mean, the value's held up. It's $382 for a 2015 Prism Silver Jameis Winston. Pop 27. There's only been one newly minted 10 in 2022. So relatively flat. The supply isn't really growing too much there. But he's a former Heisman Trophy winner, former number 1 overall pick. He's got the pedigree. It's just, he's got to perform. No Sean Payton either. So we'll see.
Steve needs the PC guys that have spent their entire career on one team only. It's like Kobe Bryant, Dirk Nowitzki.
Yes.
Tony Gwynn.
Sign me up.
Yep.
Hey, if set registry folks, if you're listening to this, can you make a checklist for NFL players, Hall of Famers who've only played on one team? I'm in it.
It's actually a really fun set idea across all sports, frankly, because there's not a lot of them.
No, it's amazing.
Very, very few.
When you think of guys who played for one team for so long, and then you're like, yeah, but like the first name that popped into my mind for some reason was Emmitt Smith. I'm like, oh yeah, he played for the Cardinals at the very end. And then I'm thinking like Bruce Smith. Nope, wait, at the very end. Like that's crazy. Outside of Barry Sanders, like I can't really think of very many more.
Derek Jeter in baseball.
Yeah. I was just saying in the NFL. Like,
yeah.
legendary.
There's very, very few. But that would be a really great set. And you get all like not just like anybody who's spent it, but like you find they're really collectible, like all-star level players that fit that criteria. There's probably maybe like 30 to 50, like across all the major sports that fit that. There can't be a lot.
He's got the idea over there. It's already cranking. I can see it.
Right. I guarantee you, listeners, those cards will be worth more than their contemporaries with multiple jerseys, other than Tom Brady. I'm just gonna say that, and maybe Michael Jordan. Oh crap, this is falling apart quickly.
All right, okay. So that's our cue to jump to the best division in football, in my opinion, the NFC North. This is where we're gonna jump in.
Did you just say the best division in football?
Well, it's my favorite to watch. So this,
gosh,
this is really where we hit. I thought it was really difficult to come up with, somewhere to really jump in here, but we found a way. Who wants to start it off?
All right, Kirk Cousins. I'm kidding.
Oh dear God.
Kirk Cousins is a very serviceable quarterback, and the Vikings are a good team. But I'm going with Justin Fields. I'm stealing it from you.
I want you to take Justin Fields because I don't want to take it.
Here's what I'll say about Justin Fields. We reviewed like the select XRC prices with Brett Coleman last week. Great episode. Make sure to check it out. And he is quite low compared to his contemporaries. And I just find him so intriguing as an athlete because he plays the game in a very fun, engaging way. And I have cousins and family in Chicago, like teenagers between the ages of like 10 and 17 in that pocket. And they're not even big football fans. They're like really big baseball and hockey fans, but they're going crazy for Justin Fields. Like he has captured that entire city. And great athlete, really fun to play. Card prices are very suppressed and low compared to his contemporaries, and just an incredibly likable athlete that the entire city is completely behind. The Bears aren't going to be great this year, but if he shows flashes of brilliance and has some really big moments, those card prices aren't going to be this low forever. So to me, he's very appetizing, and I really want my colleague to see success. I couldn't bear it if he was awful. Like I would actually feel so bad.
If he's awful, I'll never collect an ultra-modern player again. But it's
not his fault. He has no weapons and he has no lines.
Well, so I will say this, Jack. The reason I think that fans in Chicago are so all in, he's the coolest quarterback that the Bears have had, like the coolest athlete at quarterback that the Bears have had since Jim
McMahon.
To
Andy Dalton.
Since Jim McMahon. Yeah. Like he literally is. Like it's just
smoking Jay Cutler with the ciggy coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, he was kind of like a cult favorite, and I love Jay. But like this is a guy who this is the first guy who you've seen as like a marketable star at quarterback for the Bears in like 30 years. So 30 plus years. So there's that.
Tell him if he wants to market himself, he needs to get those redemptions into Panini. Oh okay.
I'm coming up on 120 days on my first one. I'm getting a little nervous, but this is no, it's the opportunity's there, but Jack's right. You have to kind of go into it with tempered expectations. They're not a playoff team this year. He needs to show the signs of growth and show flashes because that's where the fun can really start, because next offseason they got a whole ton of cap room to make moves. Just got to stay on the field, stay healthy, and just look good this year.
If he shows flashes and they have an offseason that resembles like what the Chargers did this past one, there's going to be a lot of hype surrounding him.
So for me, in my pick for this division, it's not all about the value of the card or the upside of the player. It's about the player himself and what they bring to the game of football and culture and just in general. I think as collectors, we need to remind ourselves a little bit more to collect the person behind the player. And for me, Amon-Ra St. Brown is that guy in Detroit. His family story is incredible. If you're watching Hard Knocks, you can get a taste of it. There's also some really good long form articles about John Brown, his father, who's a 2-time Mr. Universe, and his mother, who was just an incredible influence on the entire family, 3 boys, including a brother who plays currently for the Bears,
Equinemius,
thank you. Save.
I've already been practicing it a ton for when I can yell at him on TV. Yeah.
So, so you watch Hard Knocks and you see this guy recite all 16 wide receivers drafted ahead of him, plus the schools they played out, that is some Brady chip on the shoulder level stuff, which I just love to see. I love the fact that he speaks 3 languages, French, German, English. I love the fact that he went to Mater Dei right down the street from us here in Santa Ana, California. There's a lot for me as a person to like about this guy. And so I chose to collect him this year. And the best part is he's super affordable. And he's actually a damn good receiver. He broke the Lions rookie receiving record. And so, I can get tons of color from him. I'm going after color match based stuff, blues mostly.
A lot of good looking blue stuff.
Silver stuff for the Lions for less than $100. And that includes autoed stuff. You can get some of the nicer signed stuff for less than $500. And I'm talking Contenders Optic, and Prism. It's just fun. You get to expose yourself to so many different cool types of cards out there. And when you believe in the guy as a player, do I think Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to be a Hall of Famer? Probably not. But am I going to enjoy watching him week to week this year, especially the torching that he did through the fantasy playoffs last year? I'm in on Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I love it. I'm a big fan of him too. I'm really enjoying the season of Hard Knocks so far. He also has a great name, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Really marketable, cool names matter. The parents added Saint in front of his last name to make it cooler. Like they understand this too.
I'm like watching breaks a lot lately because I've just started watching way more than I had in the previous probably 6 months. And I love hearing just breakers when they come across his cards. They're just calling him the Sun God. Like, we got the Sun God. Like, that's a cool nickname. Like that not only a cool name, but a cool nickname to go with it.
Super easy to root for.
Yeah,
that's an incredible nickname.
And like the Lions are one of those teams that's been bad enough for so long. I feel like when they're good again, like everybody's going to be happy for them.
Oh yeah.
Like
I'm rooting for them.
You know what I mean? Like even as a Bears fan, I'm going to be like, good for them. Like I have family in Michigan, and like one of my favorite things every year is like, even for as bad as the Bears are, we still just crush them every year. And it's like my one chance I guaranteed get to gloat every year. So
watch out. Dan Campbell's building something in Detroit.
And a team I never get to gloat against is the Packers. And my brother-in-law is a diehard Packers fan. So to balance that out, I have to take it from him twice a year. Like it's the worst, which is going to make it sacrilegious, what I'm going to say, but I'm watching Aaron Rodgers. I'll be totally honest. I'll probably never buy an Aaron Rodgers card because I just don't think I could bring myself to. But it's interesting to look at his market. I've become really big on, and Jack and I talk about this a lot. I've become big on like those early to mid 2000s, like refractors. Obviously his 2005 Topps Chrome refractor and a PSA 10 commands like a big 5-figure premium. But like the card letter value on a PSA 9 of his Topps Chrome refractor rookie is under $3,000, which, considering where he's probably going to be looked at in history, is there's still a pretty good point to get in on that.
And you're not factoring in his post-football career when he's going to host Jeopardy for the next
exactly.
30 years. So.
He's going to be on your TV for decades.
Yeah.
I loved him in Jeopardy. He was fantastic, by the way.
I did too. It made him likable for me. Like I only say that because I'm a Bears fan and he's just tortured me for almost 2 decades. But, this comes back to what we were talking about earlier. He's won 1 Super Bowl, and it was over a decade ago. Has the playoff and postseason kind of shortcomings in the last decade plus, kind of suppress that market. And if he can make one more run and win one more title in these next 2 to 3 years, which sounds like as long as he's going to play, does he need it?
I love the Aaron Rodgers play. I was watching a handful of cards for sale with Golden's last big auction. It ended on Saturday, and I had a handful of things in my watch list that I was, thinking maybe could kind of like slide under the radar. Maybe no one's really noticing. I ended up missing the close of the auction because I was parenting my 2 little ones, and I was so upset. But then I went and I looked at the final prices, and everything was so extremely expensive, I couldn't afford anything. But the one card that I actually thought I had a decent chance at scoring was an Aaron Rodgers card that went for $19,200. It's a PSA 8. It's a 2005 Topps Chrome rookie. It's the gold refractor, but it's not like the main card. It's this 50th anniversary retro rookie insert type card. and it's a PSA 8 of this like kind of like unusual looking insert, and it commanded $19,200. Bonkers number.
He's a single team quarterback too. I'm just going to throw that one out there.
He is.
Like, he's a 4-time NFL MVP. I mean, even without another Super Bowl, he's up there in terms of season performance. I know that there's a limit to that. It is all about Super Bowls, but the guy is just so good. And that is going to carry his legacy, including what he does after his NFL career, which will be in the public eye. I guarantee it. It's going to carry it. So I bought a Aaron Rodgers rookie card at the National.
That's right.
Very happy with that. It's just one of those guys you want to have in your collection because he's an all-timer. Now, the only reason you wouldn't want to collect him is because you think he's a weirdo, which is the kind of the opposite side of it. Like, putting football aside, if you care about the player behind, or the person behind the player, kind of the counter to the Amon-Ra St. Brown is like, I wouldn't collect him because I don't believe in his whatever, his choice in supermodels or whatever the choice is. But
I think he's just been so overshadowed by Brady. And if it wasn't for Brady, it would be like Peyton Manning and then Drew Brees and then Aaron Rodgers, and that's it. But because Brady has been as good as he's been, it just kind of makes those other three names I just mentioned just feel not quite as important, but they are very much so.
All right, I'm going to buy you an Aaron Rodgers card just so you have one, Ryan.
As long as I don't have to pay for it.
You have to put it on your desk for everyone to see too.
I can't promise that. It can have a spot at home, but no, I don't know if I can go that far. So do we have any hot takes? Like, I feel like we've thrown enough out there at this point, but what's left in the tank here?
Let's just kick off. I'm ready to go. Like, I feel like we've analyzed football, we, the collective media, for long enough. It's time to get the whistle blown and let's get out there.
It's funny.
I
watched some preseason football this weekend, and like I'm at that point now where like I see a football game, like I turn on NFL Network, they're getting ready to kick off. I'm like, oh sweet, I'll sit and watch this. And then like after 2 drives, it's all guys I've never heard of who are in there, and I lose interest pretty fast. So I'm ready for the real thing, and I'm gonna throw it down. I'm gonna throw it out there. We teased a little bit about the Cowboy premium. I think Dallas is gonna make their run this year because nobody's talking about them at all. Is
that your official Super Bowl
cut it
prediction?
We're gonna play this back in December.
See, that's why I said deep run. I didn't say Super Bowl, but I may as well just get behind it. I think Dallas is gonna go to the Super Bowl this year. I think the NFC is so wide open. I don't know. I can see it. I can see it this year. I really liked what I saw last year. I love the way they've drafted these last couple of years. You know, I've always been higher than I probably should be on Dak Prescott. You know, he's not dealing with the lingering effects of the injury this year, and he still had a big year last year. I think they do it this year, and I think it's going to be great for the hobby if they do.
Steve, do you have a Super Bowl prediction?
Yeah, I do. You're gonna have to speed this up. Put it on time and a quarter or something like that, I can buy myself some time to name my returning to the Super Bowl LA Rams.
Okay.
To face off against the Las Vegas Raiders.
You had to do it. You had to do it. That's okay.
Yeah. If it happens.
I said on
I don't think it's unrealistic.
No, I said on the AFC that it was going to be the Chargers, and I'm going to stick to that just as the jinx. So it's a LA Super Bowl this year. LA versus LA. That's what I'm sticking with. It's a West Coast bias. I do think the NFC East is going to be better. I don't like the Cowboys in that division. I do like the Eagles to win it. I like the Giants to make a little more noise than they have. But I don't know. The Cowboys, just McCarthy, I think he's gonna.
You can't trust him.
I can't now.
So I have to give an AFC too, I guess, to go with the Cowboys. And I'm going to turn back the clock to the early 90s, and I'm going to go Cowboys-Bills. The Bills just have that. They have that thing like going on right now. I watched the first half of their game against Denver, where every time Josh Allen drops back to pass, like if my team's going against him, I'm terrified. Like he's just that scary right now, and I feel like that roster's only gotten better from last year. So barring a wild rash of injuries, I think they're going to be right in there at the end. So
I too am going LA versus LA. I had this big thing last year where it's going to be LA versus LA with the Super Bowl in LA. Just felt too perfect. I tend to be 1 year too early with these things, so I'm just going to run it back again. I really don't like any team in the NFC except for the Rams. And if everything comes together for the Chargers, as crazy as the AFC is, I could definitely see them making it all the way and potentially even winning the thing. So I'm just excited for this season. I cannot wait for football season to start. I am just so excited.
I hope the Chargers do it. I know so many Chargers fans, and I think I feel like it's underappreciated in the just the sports community, how tortured of a fan base that is. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah. A fan base can only take so many special teams plays, losing games with seconds left on the clock, until they get a win. So I'm excited to see how it plays out.
Awesome. I can't wait. We're only a couple weeks away, so we're probably going to talk a little bit more football before we get there. The weekend of September 10th and 11th. I can't wait. What are we buying before then? Let's leave on that.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. I am going to try to pick up one more Trey Lance, and I will say that I have bought some Trey Lance. I like Trey. I like the idea of the Niners as being the one rival to the Rams in the NFC. They were that close. They were a dropped interception away from essentially going to the Super Bowl last year. And beyond that, I'm not buying anything else. I'm going to wait and see mode. I think I've got enough. I've filled my coffers to this point.
I just added another Herbert to the stash. Contenders Optic, non-auto blue, color match at a 99 PSA 10, thick card, hard to grade, low pop, incredibly excited. It's on the way to my house. So I'm very excited. I want to add one more Herbert before the season starts. Ideally an on-card auto. I've been looking at the Panini 1 set and the Panini in-case set, 2 on-card auto, in some cases patches, cards that kind of exist in this middle ground between sort of like the tried and true Prism Optics Select Mosaic and then the high end, the Flawless and the National Treasures. I think there's some opportunity there, and he's got a great signature even though he signs a lot, and I just feel like I really need a strong Herbert auto in the collection. Also, I've been looking at Trevor Lawrence cards. Haven't bought one yet, but I might buy one soon. I like the light blue color match quite a bit. The blue ice, as you know, is another Prism card that I just can't get enough of. His looks especially great because of the color match. So I'm keeping my eye out for those two. A lot of off-centered light blues all over eBay, but if I can find a really clean one, I might have to snag it.
I will also say on the Trevor Lawrence front, the aqua parallel of his optic, beautiful,
fantastic,
beautiful color match card.
I want to throw one more in there.
Okay,
and this is one that might catch some people by surprise, but I'm looking for a 2012 Topps Chrome Andrew Luck rookie card in PSA 10. The prices have absolutely bottomed out since his retirement. It's only like $25. But having listened to Luck, the podcast series on The Athletic, I'm intrigued by this guy. And much to the vein of Amon-Ra St. Brown, this is about the man, Andrew Luck, and the dude is pretty incredible. Mm-hmm. Go back and appreciate his career for what it was. And I know a lot of people lost some significant amounts of money investing, quote unquote, in Andrew Luck. And so I'm not talking to you people because I feel your pain. But for everyone else, if you haven't had any Andrew Luck, like, appreciate the guy for what he was. He was a monster. He had everything: athleticism, intelligence, charisma, leadership skills. Unfortunately, the injuries just got in his way. Definitely recommend that listen if you get some time.
Now I want to go listen. I've bought a couple of his cards since he retired, and they're really cool to get, and they're very affordable.
Very affordable.
All right. Well, we will be back again next week. Thank you for listening again. For Jack Archer and Steve Sloan, I'm Ryan Greene. This has been the PSA Pod. We'll talk to you again soon.